You are the worst person I've ever interviewed.
No, it's basically off with their heads, disappear
David, thank
take
you
them
for
away.
being with us.
Infowars.com.
It's gone, 11:30. You're watching the Sunday Politics. We have an idiot on the program today. Coming up in just 20 minutes.
You will not stop the Republic. Humanity is awakening. Infowars.com. No, you guys are crazy.
I'll be looking at the week ahead with our political panel.
We shall be joined by viewers on BBC One when Clive Myrie will have a full roundup of today's news. It could be worse, Sophie.
It could be worse, Peter. Thank you very much. And that's it from us on BBC One. We now join the BBC's news teams where you are. Bye-bye.
Now, I do just want to show you what is happening on the markets as a reaction to all of that. And I would love to show them to you there, but I can't. Hopefully, they are coming. You can see somewhere. They were there. The market's as indecisive, I think, as they are.
10 o'clock, the news now on BBC One with Hugh Edwards.
Tonight.
Hello and welcome to our look ahead to what the papers will be bringing us tomorrow. Goodness me, what is happening there?
Spoken to all of the players involved in the England game against Poland on Tuesday and asked them to...
Much more else besides in about 50 minutes' time when I'm back with World Business Report. Actually, before that, though, we're going to have a quick look at the market. Sorry to catch up with you there. And here we go, this is the pitch.
Before we move on, also to bring you an update on the financial situation in Cyprus that we have talked about so much over the last few weeks. I apologise, clearly not meant to be doing that, but let me just tell you what we're hearing from Nicosia, the AP news agency, in the last few minutes, saying that Cyprus's central bank says all domestic debit and credit card transactions are now unrestricted.
Larry Magid, who's joining us by Skype. I think we've got a proper connection with him. We were having problems with it earlier. But Larry, we've had these results, a 31% rise of profits for Google, and also a rise in profits... I think we've got a bit of a problem with the line there, Larry. But can you give us a few comments on what you've heard from Microsoft? The figures seem a bit better.
Yeah, it's surprising because Microsoft has a big challenge right now because of the slump in PC sales.
Shares in Microsoft went up by 9% on the news, reflecting widespread criticism of Mr. Ballmer's leadership, as our technology correspondent Rory Kettlin-Jones reports. OK, well, we were hoping to bring in that report. I do apologise.
Time for a look at the weather forecast now with Susan Powell. Susan. Hello, good evening. This is BBC News with me, Julian Morica. Apologies if you were expecting Susan Powell to appear during the weather forecast. If it's any consolation, so was I. But we'll try and find her in time for half an hour from now.
Although I have a laptop, as I said, I call on my grandson to help me to use it. So I'm not keen on replying to things by email. In fact, I've tried to get rid of...
In other news, there is some more good news for the UK economy. In its quarterly economic forecast, the British Chambers of Commerce has revised up its growth predictions, and it says that the economy will grow above its 2008 pre-recession peak. It's in the second half of the year. We'll hopefully get to our guest in a moment. But there is one warning, and that warning is that growth will slow slightly in 2015. That's thanks to a reduction in household spending as a result of high personal debt levels. Well, as you can see, it looks like John is ready. John Longworth is the Director General of the British Chambers of Commerce.
Just trying to build the suspense a little. Hello, this is BBC News. I'm Martin Croxall. Got a bit of a problem here. We're going to be taking a look at the papers with our guests in a minute, with the broadcaster Alice Arnold and media writer at The Telegraph, Neil Midgley. Can only get a better con.
To be going door to door, arresting supporters of the Brotherhood. The BBC's Nick Childs has this report.
The images from a pro-military Egyptian TV station as security forces in armoured vehicles moved in on Kodassa.
Well, it seems as though we had a little bit of a problem there, but we're trying to get our ducks in a row, and we will sort it out. I want to go now to my colleague Khalid Ezel Arab, who is in Cairo, to give us the very latest. Hello, Khalid. All right, apologies, everyone. It seems as though we are still having a bit of difficulty with that, so let's move on to our...
And the time is 18 minutes past 6. Coming up on tonight's programme, Marathon Mum, a first outing for Kate since the birth of Prince George, as she officially starts a round the island race on Anglesey. It was the maternity unit at the centre of an NHS scandal. There were claims of fate.
It was unnecessary, and he thought maybe the procession would be divisive. What are your views?
Well, what happens outside the cathedral is something which is the choice of the government, and it's nothing to do with us directly. What happens inside is going to be a fairly straightforward funeral service, much like you would get in other parts of the country. It's not a memorial, it's not a celebration or Thanksgiving directly. There's no eulogy or tribute to Mrs. Thatcher. But the service includes elements of thanksgiving, but also a prayer that God's mercy and grace will cover the mistakes that all of us make, and Mrs. Thatcher's no exception.
Because, of course, Mrs. Thatcher had a difficult relationship with the church during her period in office, didn't she?
You're watching BBC World News. I'm Naga Monchetti. Here are the headlines. Turkish police are on the streets of Ankara overnight trying to disperse protesters. Earlier, the governing AK party says it's prepared to hold a referendum in Istanbul over plans to redevelop Gezi Park, the issue that sparked nationwide anti-government demonstrations. A 24-hour general strike has begun in Greece, a protest at the government's surprise move to shut down the state broadcaster, ERT. Nearly 3,000 people will lose their jobs. The government said it was a cost-cutting move. Edward Snowden, a former CIA employee, has claimed that the US government had been hacking into computers in...
In a recent interview with the US broadcaster, Rouhani said the US president's correspondence was a positive and constructive step. The BBC's James Reynolds has the story.
Iran's new president has one immediate goal: reconciliation with the United States. For that reason, Hassan Rouhani chose to speak directly to a US audience. He addressed America's main concern, Iran.
Okay, no luck on this one, but we'll be moving on and trying to sort out those technical problems that seem to be plaguing us on